All right, good afternoon, everyone. It is 1 p.m. May 24th, 2022, and this is a special meeting of the Lake County Board of County Commissioners. We've got quite a full agenda today, so let me just start. Okay. Do we have any public comments on items not listed on our agenda? We have 3 minutes apiece. We'll call on public comment in order, and if required, action will then be assigned to any county staff. Do we have anyone here that would like to make any public comments? No. Anyone on the Zoom that would like to make any public comments? All right, so with that, we will move right on into new business. Number 1 is a presentation and proposal of the purchase of a Type 1 fire engine by the Lake County Fire Chief Dan Dailey. So, Chief, if you'd like to come up and join us, you're welcome to.
Good afternoon, everybody. Real quick, just in case there's any further questions. Quick, I'll just give you the background because the folks here don't know. We came across a Type 1 engine when we were actually out for pre-construction for the Type 3, which is the volume in production. I had asked some questions about it. They were making it, they were building it as a demonstration vehicle back in late 2019 or early 2020. It's a 2020 model. COVID happened, of course, and then it just stayed in their production line. From that conversation, we understood that we could have an opportunity here. Probably a couple $100,000 less than a goal, like how we did for the Pure 6 years ago. So we pursued that opportunity as we did. We talked about it at the management board. There was a presentation given already to the BOCC and also to council members. Since then, we hired a consultant, Brian Brown, who really kind of dove into that to see whether we were going to get a really good deal or not. I think we all heard very positive from that report that he gave us. So I think the next step in this is how we're going to fund the piece of equipment between both the city and the county, and also decisions to be made. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't know what else you have or need from me unless you have questions. I think we process.
I don't have any questions on the
I don't have any questions. I'm really glad that the expertise of Brian to kind of affirm, what you have found. And so it was really good to have some long-term stability. And we have had a work session with you a month or so ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking over your entire fleet and kind of the projection of replacement. And this would be one of the last steps for a while, like newer, fully replacement, pieces of equipment that would be
Right, full replacement of a brand new piece of equipment. Like the truck is probably next, as you saw with the replacement sheet. Like that because of the use of that, but like when we're discussing those Type 1s, those are the ones that run out on calls all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's box for rescue.
So where are we at with procurement for that list with? Is it between like with the IGA and that Tabor procurement, and that's between city, county, wildfire fund? Is that whole budget finalized?
So we put the 100,000 in for capital improvements in the operational budget that we discussed. That we down payment. So the remaining out before again, it's probably 750,000. Very expensive pieces of equipment. This will replace engine 2, as you know. Engine 2 is the 2002 Subdivision. To give us good service for, 20 years now. And it's life. So what we would do is we take the 60 pairs and put it into response to capabilities, and then this new our primary response. That's kind of how it's going to be all set up now. The amount, city really didn't. They said that whatever the county wanted to do on how you wanted to take care of that, obviously is what you want to do. They are feeling like they're the amount that they need.
The city center.
So just, I think to Sarah's questions, I mean, our decision today is really to kind of like give like finance and county manager direction to figure out how we want to structure our payments. So, yeah, we don't have that.
Or pay,
Yeah.
or we aren't
Or-
necessarily
yeah.
making payments, right?
Yeah,
Because I think
yeah.
we talked about in the work session, we'd probably rather not have
Yeah,
that as an
our pay-
liability.
yeah. Our payment approach.
Yes, sorry. All right. Is there, Tim, is there anything else we will talk through on this?
Sorry, I'm just looking.
Chris, yeah, I was just saying, Chris wanted to ask about the status of the sales agreement. And then there was a draft and it was circulated, and I didn't know where we were on that.
So yeah, since then, it was signed just prior to the council meeting. I'm sorry, it was signed after the council meeting on the whatever Tuesday it was.
Okay,
Last
so
Tuesday.
the city is signed off on this.
Correct.
I don't think we would have to solicit purchase order.
And that's, yeah, I was just gonna check, because that the draft I had it that way, I just want to make sure because that had changed.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
I also just wanted to comment, I mean, I agree, Sarah, with your point, we were really glad we did that consulting, not to second guess, your work, but it's a huge, it's a capital equipment and part of a multi-year, equipment plan to keep things up to date. So I think it's appropriate to do that with due diligence on, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it was really good. It was really great to get somebody else's perspective, for sure. Somebody who's very knowledgeable in the apparatus aspect, who's lived in that world for a very long time. I mean, he gets presentations at FDIC.
Yeah.
So he's very knowledgeable.
Right.
That's correct.
After we get through all the busy stuff.
Yeah, August, September, I told him I'd reach out to him, and then so the apparatus replacement sheet and equipment replacement that we currently have right now, we'll kind of just dive into the entire apparatus program and have, working with him, we'll have a roadmap basically on what we can do and plan appropriately, so we're not having to do the action. Yeah.
And incorporate certain stations here in the service out of station two.
Correct.
Okay. I guess I'll move to direct staff to work with city and chief on finance and options.
a second.
All right, any further discussion?
Up to me.
Anything else you need from us, Dan? Sorry.
No.
I guess I'll go
Okay.
back.
No, I'm good. I think we talked
Yeah.
in depth about this over the past few months.
All right.
So,
Any no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you very much.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Next, we file 22-06, 301 Tabor Drive subdivision exemption. We have a statement of motion, an official action record, and a resolution 22-12. Sorry. You're good. Can you put the papers on?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm gonna turn it over to you. I'll turn it over to you. Walk us through this.
So on May 9th, there was a joint public hearing between the commissioners on file 2206, which was a request for consideration of subdivision exemption on the lot 2 of the Hudson Minor subdivision. So today I have for the board the results of the recommendation from the planning commission and leave that into the record. It's May 9th, 2022 meeting, the Lake County Planning Commission made, seconded, and approved by a roll call vote of 4 members in favor, 0 members in opposition. The following motion, the motion having been made by Lupe Bobadilla and seconded by Joey Edwards. They moved the planning commission to recommend approval of file number 2206, the exemption from subdivision regulations of Lot 2 of the Hudson Minor Subdivision recorded on September 14th, 2006, at reception number 344189 to the Board of County Commissioners, and that a resolution be prepared to memorialize the decision, making the following findings. 1, the inclusion of plat note number 10 on the Hudson Minor Subdivision plat recorded on September 14th, 2006, at reception number 344189 was in error. 2, the proposal is within the purposes of Colorado Revised Statute Part 1 of Article 28 of Title 30 and should be exempted from the term subdivision and subdivided lands pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute Section 38.10110D. Number 3, the intended purpose of the rules and requirements of the Lake County Development Code are valid, and this proposal should be exempted from the relevant requirements. Number 4, the proposal is within the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare of the general public. Number 5, the proposal is consistent with the goals, objectives, policies, and other provisions of the Lake County Comprehensive Plan. And 6, the proposal complies with the Lake County Land Development Code and all other applicable codes and regulations adopted by the county. And further, the resolution that is being proposed, do you have a resolution number for this? Is it, was it already assigned one?
I have it as resolution 22.
That's what I was thinking. You said you already got the resolution numbers on them.
Yeah, but I'm second guessing myself.
So do you have a record of resolutions? Make sure I'm not doing the wrong
Not with me, I
number
don't.
on there. Okay.
But I will check. once I go back.
So. Well, right. Are you checking?
Which,
This one is the subdivision exemption, the resolution granting subdivision exemption. It's file 2206, but so that was land use file number, not resolution.
I think the next resolution number is 13.
13. Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll make this 2213.
Oh, no, 2212, sorry.
2212.
Sorry.
No worries. So resolution 2212 is a resolution granting a subdivision extension to lot 2 of the Hudson Minor Subdivision recorded at section 344189. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Lake, State of Colorado Board is vested with administering the affairs of Lake County, Colorado pursuant to state statutes. And whereas pursuant to section 3.18.1 of the Lake County Land Development Code, the Board of County Commissioners may exempt any division of land if the Board of County Commissioners determines that such division is not within the purposes or scope of the code or the purposes of the subdivision laws of the state of Colorado. And whereas pursuant to CRS 3028.110D, the Board of County Commissioners may determine that a particular division of land is not within the purposes of the mandated subdivision statute and may choose to utilize this process in order to accomplish a public goal or otherwise determine that the usual subdivision processes do not necessarily fulfill their intended purposes. And whereas Lake County Planning Commission has recommended granting a subdivision exemption to lot 2 of the Hudson Minor Subdivision due to a series of errors in the original subdivision plat. And whereas the Lake County Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners held a joint public hearing on file number 2206 for review and action on the 9th day of May 2022. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners has considered the recommendations of the Lake County Building and Land Use Department and the Planning Commission, and whereas the Board of County Commissioners potentially do find that the proposed land division is not within the purposes of CRS Part 1 of Article 28 of Title 30 and should be exempted from the term subdivision and subdivided lands pursuant to CRS 3028.10110D. Therefore, it would be resolved that section 1, the resolution holds objectives, policies, or provisions of the Lake Comprehensive Plan. Section 2, the resolution is consistent with the intent of the Lake County Land Development Code and all other applicable codes and regulations adopted by Lake County. Section 3, the resolution is found to promote the public health, safety, and general welfare. Section 4, the resolution shall become effective upon that date. So that is that's a presentation of the motion along with the proposed resolution on file.
Can you also have an official motion?
I do.
I personally do not have any question on this. I did not attend the public hearing, but I did listen to the public hearing. I don't have any questions.
Same here, I was present for the hearing and felt, I mean, it's sort of a weird, unfortunate historical error that we're just trying to correct. So I don't have any further questions. So it's covered in the planning commission hearing.
Yeah.
Joint hearing.
I, same here, and just to, excuse me, offer that as these kind of activities happen in the past and as we move forward with the land use department and others to kind of change code, rectify, you know, places where these gaps may be allowed for, or the implementation of code might have not been as clear. We definitely have these kind of instances in mind, are having current conversations to revise our code so that we don't inadvertently cause the same challenges for future decision makers and staff. And property owners is the biggest hurdle. So thank you. Thank you for that. I move to approve 2212 regarding 301 Tabor Drive subdivision. And should not be the correct number, if we can assign it to the correct resolution.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. You need to take it down. All right, thank you, Anne. Number 3, you can stay here. And you can stay here. Number 3 is the Board of Review presentation of Resolution 22-13, adoption of the 2018 ICC building codes. So the Board of Review has undertaken an extensive process to bring us potentially into compliance with the energy code and up to the 2018 building code. So I'll let Anne and Sue take it from here.
Great, and I'm going to give the floor for a moment to Rick Corning, who is the chairman of the Board of Review.
Sure.
And this is a joint, this portion is an item, agenda item is a joint hearing with the Board of Review and the commissioners.
Sure. So I'll, once you get up here, Luke, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing now at 1:19 p.m. Joining us right now is Luke Corning, the chair. We'll have a presentation from the board staff, and then we'll take any public comment after that. And then we'll close the public hearing. The board will have an opportunity to deliberate on the code and take into consideration any public comment that we may have received at this time, and then make a determination on adopting this file with the revision of the code. So, Luke, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you. Yeah.
Myself. I am Luke Corning. I am chair of the Board of Review. We've worked for a couple of years now going through the 2018 codes and the impacts they're going to have on our community. I feel like we've done a job putting together a resolution that works well for our community here. Shall I go?
Yeah.
Okay. Here, statement of motion file 22-15. I, Luke Corning, chairman, move the Board of Review recommend approval of the resolution 22-13, Lake County, Colorado ICC Codes Amendment and Adoption, which shall replace and repeal Lake County Resolution 17-22. Want to get a second?
Second.
Right. I'll take a roll call. Board of Review members. Anything?
Present.
Hope?
Present.
Okay. Ethan, you approve the motion? Hope, do you approve the motion?
Yes.
And I approve the motion as well. Motion passes. And further finding shall be the responsibility of the Lake County Board of Review to render the operation of the Lake County Building Department as they pertain to the Lake County Building Code as amended. The board shall have jurisdiction in accordance with Colorado Revised Statute Section 3028-206 and pursuant to CRS 3028-205. It shall be the responsibility of the Lake County building official to administer and enforce the public code. And public notice has been duly published pursuant to Title 30 CRS Section 3028-204. And the proposed resolution promotes the health, safety, and welfare of the community.
We'll let you get there for a while. So they bring before you the following resolution. And I do believe, as I have open up public comment, I think there are two areas within the resolution that continue to be of consideration. That's just a copy of the resolution. And today we would be asking you to review, consider the recommendation from the Board of Review, and then we'll put it on your agenda with the resolution to adopt. But the two questions before the board, I think, today are the effective date of when the adoption will become in effect. There is a suggestion of looking towards June 30th, or it could be become effective upon the adoption and approval of the resolution. So those are the two choices. And then we have received a request from the Leadville County Fire Department for you to consider an issue that they would like the board to consider within this adoption. And the Board of Review has not chosen at this time. So those are the two outstanding issues for the board today. Adoption. Well, and I also wanted to introduce that we have Dan Mead and Hope Medina here as our consultants and code experts, our impartial consultants that have helped us through this process. And so if the board has any questions for them as well, they are available today and made this couple-hour trek to be with us today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Okay. Sarah or Jeff, do you have questions right off the bat for the review or staff based on given to us right now before we end?
I don't think I have any questions. I just wonder, I think it might be great, since it's a public hearing, to just note that our resolution draft includes those changes and numbers them and where we will see changes from the last adopted code. So it is very helpful to review. And also when the time is appropriate, perhaps after public comment, maybe before, if the Board of Review would highlight and lift a couple of kind of sticking points that were worked through with the board. So that we can just air those and express publicly how those were considered and what kind of top maybe 3 or few things.
Right off the bat, before we move into that.
No, that sounds good. I think within, I mean, that'll cover the effective date question. I assume. So,
So we'll move into that. If you can highlight for us some of the changes in here and the service offers. Those things that they
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so I will just kind of start, we did a presentation, we did 2 town hall meetings where we talked about significant changes in the presentation work session. So we did try to have some good public engagement opportunities to kind of vet decisions. And so in that presentation, we highlighted some of the significant changes. So I'll just talk to a couple that I talked about in the presentation, and then I'm going to defer to Ethan and Luke because they also spoke on some of those changes. So the ones that I addressed were more administrative, and so one is the fees associated with building permits. And it's been over a decade since we've looked at adjusting fees. And so we are now proposing that these will come in line with a price index that we use through the ICC, which is a national index. And additionally, the Board of Review and staff would suggest that instead of waiting this 10-year then between code adoptions, hopefully it won't be that long before we're revisiting this, but we would have those adjust annually instead of having kind of this catch-up period. So fees, keeping in mind that all ancillary permit fees are staying the same, and so we're only talking about building permits. And generally, we did a lot of stuff. John and Marla helped me look at calculating what that would mean. And generally, on building permits, it's about a 30% increase. But again, keeping in mind it's been a decade of no change. And hopefully that proposal will make that incremental annual change much easier and to kind of jump over. The other item that is changing is that due to concerns that we have received from the public, as well as industry contractors and the industry itself, there is a desire to add a level of public and community protection in requiring general contractors to have certification, knowledge and experience to be able to represent public in building homes for them. And so this is not unlike many jurisdictions that require testing or certification. We are implementing a new requirement that all general contractors hold a certification from the ICC. We've given them several different options, as well as we will consider reciprocal licensing. If a contractor holds a license in another jurisdiction that tests, we'll look at that license, and if it's similar, we will accept that. So we're also allowing a grace period for that to happen, wanting to honor the industry and understand that it is a heavy enough lift to be changing codes in the middle of building season. That is challenging enough. So we are allowing contractors this year to gain that certification until the end of November. And so by December 1, we would expect by the time the qualifying inspection that they have that certification. And then we would enter into 2023 with certified contractors. We're hoping this will elevate and add a level of protection for the public. So those are the two I spoke about in the presentation, and I'm happy to turn it over to Luke or to Ethan to kind of talk about the changes that they talked about.
I can start out here. The main purpose, the main thing we've done in this resolution is generally 2012 and a mix of 2006 ICC codes to 2018. A little more current and get up to speed on current practices and technology. We've also taken a lot of effort to clean up things that were in the resolution before. Felt like there were some holdovers from just whole situations that had come up over the years that didn't apply anymore. That could open us up to liability or just interpretation that we didn't really want to have. So we eliminated some things that didn't. And then I'll kind of turn over to Ethan. Probably the biggest impact within moving to the 2018 codes and changing some of these resolutions is on the energy side of it. So I'll let Ethan speak to that.
Yeah, I'll speak first on radon and permittable work, or rather work that's exempt from a permit. So in the back of the code books are appendices, and these are not adopted with draft resolutions. They have to be adopted separately. And we decided as a board to include radon resistant foundations. So this is pretty simple measure to implement. Typically goes under a sub slab to a 3-inch to 4-inch pipe, which then vents out through the roof passively with a requirement to have power left somewhere to, in the event that it needs fan assist to clear the radon levels, to insert that. And then work exempt from a permit. Not too many changes here. Basically, 200 square feet for exterior siding, insulation, and drywall. Yeah. So these are aimed at both on the commercial side and the residential side for small repairs and fixes that aren't all encompassing. And so if you're under that square footage, you don't need a full permit. Additionally, on the residential side of things, if you're kind of one-for-one swapping out windows that are, and assuming the windows are code compliant, that can be done without a permit. Where this wouldn't apply is if you're changing your ROs or any of your structural numbers, you would then need to apply for a permit and go through plan review. In terms of energy, I think nobody here is more qualified to speak on that than Hope Medina. She works with Schumacher, who is a consultant with the state implementation of codes. So,
Sure. I think probably the one that was most often and heavily discussed is the blower door testing requirements. In the adoption that was exempted from a requirement out of the code. So that was going to be a huge, a significant potential hurdle for some of the builders who haven't had the opportunity to take those steps in being able to meet that blower door requirement. So what we did is we created a policy. So if a blower door fails and it's within a certain parameter, not something really crazy, but within a certain parameter, we created a policy as far as seal these items or address these list of items without any deconstruction. And you'll be deemed to comply with the blower door requirements with an understanding that, the hope is that this gets used once. And then from there, you're able to see where, some of your missteps might have happened. So that was probably, I would say, the biggest concern for that was, and then on the commercial side, things just kind of stayed as they were with the code.
So this applies towards new air tightness requirements in new construction. So in an effort to make buildings more robust and consume less energy, it's imperative to cut down air leakage. And this is just a test that verifies new building in a certain way that is conducive to that. And I guess the only other thing, sorry to interrupt, for our proposal to adopt EV ready charging for single family homes. So without going into too much detail, this provision basically would require builders to leave the ability to add a future charger for electric vehicle charging That could be in the form of a conduit or actually having the line run and having the appropriate space required in the panel.
The other thing that we want to make sure that the board is aware of is that we are working very hard to shepherd the community into this new code adoption. And so we have already set up classes, free workshops in June to educate, support, and offer opportunities. The website, the Lake County Building and Land Use, that may be changing soon, but the Lake County Building and Land Use website currently is going to be a great resource. We have all the information on how to test for certification. We have all of the free education opportunities to learn about the energy code, the changes in the code. And so we're going to continue to look for ways to support the community through these code changes as well as staff. And so we are going to continue. Hope Dina has been instrumental in helping us find these opportunities to educate ourselves and community on code change. And so those will be continuing. There's already 6 classes scheduled for June. 8 classes scheduled for June. So we will continue to, we are so grateful for the resource that we have in Choose Code.
Just speak to the timing of it. So originally we proposed to adopt this, as of today. There has been some community concern among the building community, especially about trying to adopt this right in the midst of, or right in the beginning of building season, when a lot of budgets have been set forth and plans have been designed under the former codes. So it's just something we might consider. As far as pushing the effective date back to June 30th. The June 30th date also is in line with when the city would adopt these codes. That's
Or closely thereafter, I'm working with the city. The consultants are gonna, it's something they're gonna be able to help us shepherd the city a little more directly because how we reached out to the city and they need some support and moving forward. So I think we'll be around that target, maybe a couple weeks, but that's our target.
So I mean, plans have been made or permits have maybe been submitted or applied for. And the permitting fees will increase upon adoption of this as well, or the building permit fees will increase upon adoption of this. Is there any recommendation from the staff?
So
That's
yeah. No, I actually think I would echo, I kind of talked about the grace period for educational requirements. I think the building industry over the last few years, 3 years, have financial hits. I think they had to deal with supply chain costs, so many different things. There's no great time. Eventually, we have to put Band-Aid off and do this. But if it shows support for the industry, and that's what the department's goal is to be supportive, then I think that it is worth considering maybe this 30-day, a little more than 30-day period, and have an effective date in June.
point out that we did have a vote among the border review, and it was actually a split vote between extending it or not. So I don't want to say I speak for the whole board and pushing this out. But
Can we hear maybe from the board review? What's the why advocate to put this in place on the 6th rather than the 30th? Hope?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's comes in and out, that sound, so I'm trying to listen. I don't have a problem with it now. The only problem is I don't think that we reached out to the public enough. So I could go with it June 30th, but I'd like to see more public outreach. Like on avenues other than people that have reached out to the building department. So I do think that not a lot of people are aware of it. So, I can go either way. I think on one hand, if there's a grace period, a month doesn't really matter, because you have that 6-month grace period, if that's what we're talking about, to get, get in line and get certified, get the blower door results, all of that stuff. So, and like I said, it's been going in and out, so I may be repeating something or saying something incorrectly.
No, that's fine. And staff would just, I appreciate, Hope's thought about outreach, but I do want to make sure that the board is aware that we have reached out with direct mail to all registered contractors last year and this year about the town hall meetings. So those were on our website. We did direct emails, and I think that John can help me. We emailed out save the dates and reminders, I think 3 different times before the town halls on each one of them. Is that right,
We
John?
sent out about 5 emails, and we actually did, we did the last 3 years registered contractors. So we took all their emails. We reached out to about 400 people, give or take. We were well above 350 people receiving our emails, alerting them to the code change and giving them the dates for our town hall.
And that was just this year, really,
Right.
right? And in 2019, there were 8 months of monthly review.
Right. I'm just saying, I didn't see him on any public forums. I'm just saying, reaching out to people that aren't in contact with the building department, because there's a large percentage of people working out there that aren't reaching out to the building department or registering or doing that. Just my thoughts, but I hear you. I'm not saying you didn't do anything at all. So there's no, I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is that I speak to a lot of people that didn't know that this was going on. So they weren't registered.
Right, but generally, a lot of the public, do work with contractors, and so in marketing it, we kind of do that. So we.
That's my suggestion.
Great point, Hope, and absolutely, but just wanted to make sure the board did know that we have a lot of direct communication with contractors, architects, engineers that work in our area to let them know.
Sorry, I guess I'm a little confused. Is there debate over a June, if and when we would have this on our June 6th agenda for adoption? I think.
Right, correct.
Is it June 6th versus June 30th, or is there a third alternative of later?
There's 2. So I would bring
Okay.
it today. We're bringing the statement of motion and a resolution, and then I would bring the written resolution to adopt. So it would be either June 6th or June 30th is kind of what we've talked about, just having approximately less than 30 days. With the public hearing today, we can feel like this is going to elevate it even more. And a little bit of extra time.
Okay. Is there any board of review members who were advocating for June 6th adoption?
Yeah, I was. And my reasoning was mostly due to just, it's been communicated for so long. This process is not new. It's been, all of our meetings have been open to the public, either virtually or in person when we're doing them. And it just seems like at the 11th hour, we're going to move the goalposts, and we just need to do it, in my opinion. I don't even know what the extra few weeks, how much of an impact that's going to make. But I'm of the view that let's rip the Band-Aid off and just get it over with. Builder.
Yeah, if we're not reaching out anymore to the public, I'm for doing June 6th as well. I don't think there's a difference.
Important and John Robert here to help me. We are getting flooded with applications trying to, so for staff, there probably is a bit of a burden. So I just if we give all the pros and cons, we're already kind of seeing a flood of applications that will probably continue. People that are trying to do that they do have plans. So it does put a certain degree of extra work on staff. Because it does increase the volume. So just considering all things.
So I just thought about like if we delay it to the end of June, there might be like a rush.
There already is. there already is going on, to be able to kind of extend that and just might heighten our numbers and our volume of, of what we're jumping over right now. So just
As in 19 in the last 2 days.
yeah, thank you.
That comes
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Like, they're probably should idea.
Thanks, Marla.
What the volume that, and so that's the other thing, that's the other pressure that's kind of driving. So, okay. All sides.
Okay.
I have one more clarifying question. I was interpreting, Anne, what you were saying, the grace period for the certification, which in our work session you had mentioned, I believe, $350 cost and a 20-hour requirement, maybe?
So I think the cost, even if they do inspector,
So the cost is about $250 for the testing, and the tests themselves is what we would look for certification, and that they're not that many hours. Now, however you try to educate for the test is up to you, but I think the tests are about 3 hours, maybe.
to do
Oh,
our
okay.
test.
Okay, okay. And there's a number, okay, and depending on what you're working on and pulling permits for, you.
That's a common practice for the certification.
Correct, there's lots of jurisdictions that, or they license themselves, the jurisdictions.
And was that grace period applying to the certification only, or the other elements of?
Just the certification.
Okay,
Just the
I want,
certification.
okay, that's what I understood.
And you get it.
I like a grace period for the whole thing, which I don't think.
No, just for the certification, and kind of modeled after the subject requirements. They did this very similar, allowing that time for installers and inspectors to get certified, and that seemed to work out really well. So just kind of modeled through that.
Yeah, and there's certification for residential construction and one for commercial construction. And a little bit costly, depending on what you're going to be doing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a training, it's just a test, basically.
And one more, and I think we had asked this question in the work session on Excel's ability to service with their capacity, these panels that were increased, and you had made that call on that while we were in that meeting. And I think Excel's response was they would be able to serve.
Absolutely able to, they're already.
Okay, did we dig any more though into like the kind of like core of my question? Of course they'd be able to serve, but is it at a cost burden, or didn't we add maybe some language that related to circumstances that we have seen where people kind of bear the cost of a new transmission line, or not transformer for a whole block when they've got the one vacant lot and they are building. And then I think that something similar has happened. I mean, here, and I don't, did we change any language to address that or get any further clarification?
Had a note from Excel.
Yeah, and what Excel had said is that they're more than capable of being able to address the additional quote unquote load from having the EV charging, or the potential of EV charging. They've seen this through the pipeline for a long time. There's a lot more communities right now that are requiring EV charging to a much higher degree. Basically 95% of all commercial parking is going to have it, and all their residential. And then the PV and everything else that's been going with a more towards electrification, that they've been fully aware that that's where people are looking towards, and they're more than capable of being able to do that.
I think the question though is if you're putting in more, if you need a higher demand, or who's responsible for the cost if the transformer needs to be upgraded, right? And that I do remember discussing, and I thought we did agree on adding some kind of language, but doing so in a way that doesn't allow for like
For someone to see if there's a hardship. And in consideration of not including it. We can, I can modify that when I bring it to the resolution. I can. Chris and I will work on. Chris and I will work on a draft.
Okay. Okay. And to, just to that a general comment, the three of us and have tried to approach the Public Utility Commission as Excel is a utility and infrastructure that we are out of control of in addition to water and sewer. So it's definitely one of those things that we understand and also would like to hold on and try to influence the PUC as best as we can to make realistic and appropriate decisions. Just have a for the construction community.
I just want to add, I mean, I support that. I mean, trying to find some language that would allow someone, I mean, given that case that you explained, someone Excel's going to charge someone tens of thousands of dollars that weren't, above and beyond normal electricity service. I guess the question is whether we some vague word like undue burden, or if we can try to put some dollar cost on or percent of the. I don't know what the right way is, but I mean I hate writing language about like undue burden. It's fun to put that down the road. Think about like a clearer
We might be able
standard.
to, right, maybe able to, I may be able to find a way to quantify what is typical, what a typical is. To be able to quantify what is that, when that burden is, it's the time of the resolution.
Yeah.
I can see if we can have some do that so that we have a qualified answer for that.
Okay, so we'll start to accept public comment. Hearing now. Anybody on the Zoom call that has any public comment regarding -13, the resolution to adopt the new building code? Is there anybody in the public with us to comments on the pending changes to us? And if you'll just state your name.
Yeah, my name's Rob Hott. I work with KW Construction. It just seems like an awkward time to fully change what's going on. Seems like to me it would be better in November, December to cross these hurdles rather than May, June. I don't understand what 24 days gets you from June 6th to June 30th. I would think 6 months would be a more appropriate guideline. No problem adopting the code, just wrong timing.
Anybody else have any public comments you'd like to?
I'll go. So my name's Dan Northcraft. I'm a local home builder. November would be great, but I don't know if we've got the start for that. But I mean, I think another month to get some plans together. That's a set of plans for my house. I've been sitting on my desk since January. I just can't. So been giving people a little more time, so it's not such a crush at the building department. And for Shooms, stuff reviewed, I think another month is based on where we've been a reasonable place to be. So a little more time to get their stuff together, not get another 19 permits in the day before, because there's a finite amount of permits that are going to come in. So on that process, that's a reasonable thing, and there's probably less, maybe a little less pushback from the public on the building department that says, oh, we didn't know this was happening. Now there's been 2 meetings and then it's 5 weeks before it's adopted. think June.
Also, those that would like to make any public comments on the pending code revisions. I'm not seeing it. And we're able to close the public hearing today at 1 p.m. And our next step in
Or you could actually, I'm so sorry.
Because we
I
have
think
to
I'd be
adopt the
looking for
resolution.
you to, for direction, because I would go in the resolution to you.
Direction on the date, direction on the fire and rescue request, direction on.
Actually, right on effective date. There was a request from the Dailey County Fair Rescue. Sprinklers would like not to do exceptions. I will, for the resolution, I will bring in a suggestion of to the electrical.
Yes, okay. I don't know, was the townhome request part of the conversation in 2019 and up to this point in a great extent for review? As far as the exclusion and everything, because I think there's a lot to unpack there and explore, and I don't know that we can. I mean, that might have a lot to do too with the state's material requirements and really, is there a lot?
I'm happy to kind of give staff's perspective on that, and then if Dan wants to. There were, I believe there were some discussions with Paul before I took over the first year about the movie and new residential homes. So I met with the local County Fire Rescue when I became aware of that. And we determined collaboratively that it probably would be best to find a time in September. That's the movie and residential. Because the work is still being done on identifying the movie boundary. And so that's part of adopting movie is the legislative process to establish that. And so with the wildfire protection planning that's being done right now, they thought it would be a good time to look at that again in September, as well, maybe as a consideration of new residential homes and require sprinklers. So understanding that needs to be a really well vetted conversation. There was agreement to revisit that in September with a proposal potentially for an amendment in 2023. Townhome sprinkler proposal was came out of those conversations that if kind of putting those conversations at a future date. There was staff heard from the department that there was an immediate within or an ask that they felt would be beneficial to the community in keeping sprinkler systems. The requirement to sprinkle townhomes is presently in the code, in the 18 code, and the resolution before you does exempt it. It makes it a shall. And the reasoning, and again, I will defer to Dan or Stephen. Talk more about it as he is the expert, but what staff heard was that it is challenging response time. We used an example of having responses in two, very separate locations and with to respond in time. So response time, access issues, there's not a lot of the new developments that have townhomes. Accessibility is challenging, and than the size of the developments, the townhome structures themselves. So access, size of units, and then the ability to staff heard. And so through those conversations, we brought to the Board of Review to consider keeping townhomes within the code and not. And
I'd be more than happy to add to what you've already said. So take all that in consideration. And then we're looking at the type of construction today, right? It's lightweight material. You have gusset plates within 5 minutes. If that building's been under fire and we go interior, it's going to collapse on us, right? So there's first responder safety. If we have any reason to go inside of that building, the type of material that burns inside of a structure today is not what it used to be. It's not the natural materials back in the day when everything was all synthetics. It's burning at a higher rate. The BTUs are 3 times more than what they used to be. And then you shove all that into a lightweight construction. And then you have all those potential hazards. Not only that, it's not the fire that kills people. It's the smoke. You have literally seconds to get out of your home today, more so than what you used to in the past. You had time to get out. Now you really don't have time to get out of your home unless you get alerted right away and get out. Because of the toxic smoke, you get overran. So what I'm saying is, if we could start with some kind of structures in Lake County instead of being reactive, 15, 20 years from now, when none of us are sitting in this room, when they're having to deal with the problem, if we can fix the problem now and start working towards better safety within our community, working on some kind of structures. These are massive buildings. Massive buildings. You see the ones on Rail Yard? If we're in Twin Lakes and that building catches on fire and it gets outside of room and contents, we're going to have big problems. It's not just that one structure that's going to go up. It's going to be the neighborhood. About the fire over here at the synagogue. It was in June. It got outside of the roof line of that structure. The embers flew 2 blocks down and caught 2 outbuildings on fire. Those are the types of things that I'm worried about. I'm not worried about people actually having a chance to get out, because they could get out. And in construction today, right? We have the walls, we have the 2R ratings. It's not going to go from this building to that building rapidly because of those safety measures that we put inside of our structures today. But it's a matter of catching the fire in the incipient phase. Sprinkler systems are going cheaper. It's all dry systems interior. It's a tank that goes inside the structure itself. So the only time it goes off is when the sprinkler head pops, and it actually takes care of the fire itself. There's a lot of things to consider here. I know that. And I know that when you say sprinkler systems in Lake County, oh my God, it's a devil word. It really is. But I think that we have to really start thinking about that, especially the massive types of fires that all of our nation, to include internationally, are experiencing today. These are preventative measures to be able to have life safety measures put in place. So I'd like for you to consider that. Maybe there's more discussion that needs to happen with the board review. I know that there was a motion to table it during that meeting. I have further discussion, but sometime soon, I think that we're really going to need to crack the door open on that and really take a look and make some proper decisions for life safety. So, thank you.
No other questions.
No other questions.
Discuss what guidance to do.
Okay. Do you need that motion for that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wonder, I don't have, towards Ethan's perspective of putting this in place, and if I am understanding Matt's perspective correctly, let me know, please. I understand that the sooner we put it in place, less burden, or the a month of crazy. Is that the correct interpretation of?
I think that's what staff would suggest to me is that we're certainly getting 19 permits in June. So there is kind of this mass rush to approve and get submitted, which I think is probably typical. So
Yeah, that would happen with
regardless,
any change, I would think.
absolutely.
But
But that's kind of our volume. That's significant. to us, 19 introduces.
So anyway, I would ask the board, I guess I'm leaning towards that and I would look for.
I guess the question is, I mean, do we really have any sense of whether that number of permits coming in so fast is just where we are with building, or I mean, are people really throwing those in to be?
I really think it's to meet the deadline, but I'm going to let John and give you their take on that, because I think that's what they've communicated to me, is that it's definitely precipitated by the change in the code.
John or Marla, do you have, can you give us some details on that question? Do you think the increase in permits is really due to the deadline, the impending deadline, or do you feel like the permits that's coming in is just based on the amount of?
I think the deadline is accelerating. I don't think it's the only factor. I think we're definitely seeing just a rush in general for a lot of reasons, but I think it's definitely a piece of it.
And we've also had a few of the people that have submitted part of those 19 have actually said, I want to get this in before the 2018. So it's not as if, like they mentioned to us. There's also some sections of the county that we haven't seen, maybe some applications from, where if they find out, oh, I've got another month, we easily could see another 19. Another.
And the only other thing that I would mention is that staff has been educating everyone that calls. It's getting ready to. We are on the cusp of changing code, and it's a constant message that goes out. So anybody that's going to inquire about things, we're trying to create that. That's our constant messaging. That the code changes.
Answer the question frequently. When's the hard line?
I think I heard it right as on here.
I mean, it's so hard. I mean, I'm almost feeling June 30th is like the worst of both worlds, where you like create a rush and a spike in your volume, and you don't actually give builders that much more time to adapt. So hearing comment in the room, I'm almost leaning towards like either like ripping the Band-Aid off, or a slightly longer deadline. I guess self-inform me. I'd like to ask the question. Sorry to get to it before. Think of it before. I mean, to my mind, I mean, the downside of say like 2 or 3 month extension is we just go through another building season without this code. Yeah.
Let's see how this goes. I moved to
Good luck
approve.
with that one.
Or I guess I'll move to direct staff to prepare a resolution for board of commissioners to consider the adoption of the 2018 building code, to include date effective June 6th or upon adoption, to include language regarding the quality burden imposed by providers during construction, and to maintain the exclusion
of the town hall. So right now.
I guess I don't have to mention that at all.
Right, so if you're going to, I mentioned it, if you want to allow it to be. Resolution.
Okay, if you want to comment on that though, so, but I don't have to include it in my motion. So the motion includes the date. Effective.
I'll second that motion to get on the table.
Sure. Further discussion on the motion on its own?
I mean, just to bring forward, I mean, I would like to consider not the June 30th date, but I'd like to just be thinking about like the 2 or 3 month extension to not.
And I think like, I mean, the conversation.
Yeah, so sorry, just I mean to bring forward a decision, basically a decision to pick one of those two, either immediate or a longer delay.
Or longer, yeah.
To us.
And I guess I would just offer, you know, with the 3+ years of chatting about inadequate fees and all the development that's happening, and wanting to get things up to code, including, you know, we could get it far out from actual construction. What's the time frame? 6 months, a year?
That you would, once you pull the building permit, it's good for a year.
Per year. So we can get permits for next year construction.
I mean, I was thinking about this from sort of thinking about our own Justice Center, like where our like permit to ground
Yeah.
date is, and also just personal experience, like having built a home recently, like if our general contractor, like, oh, guess what? Like we're gonna do like these extra things. Might cost money or bulk more decisions. That would be annoying.
It might be challenging to overcome with the economic.
Yeah, no.
Having to overcome some of those unexpected.
And Sarah, I mean, I hear you on that, and that going on. For permits to get in now, it would be valid for a year. It would miss finally catching up on, with the code that I agree with, you know.
And I would, Ethan just reminded me too that, as we. That's a lot. Part of what's spending us on is legislative. To be under one of the 3 current codes.
So without going through it with a fine tooth comb, it's a state requirement that you be adopting the 2021. Unless you've adopted, and don't quote me on this, by July 1st of this year. That was part of the bill at one point, but I've seen 14 editions of that bill as it's morphed around. So please don't quote me.
And we're subject to 21.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a whole.
Which is a lot.
Which is a lot different. It's going to be a lot bigger.
And the whole process.
Yes. So we've been in this for almost 3 years. We're gonna eventually probably be in a situation that we would have to wait for it and all of it. We have to redo pretty much the work that we've done.
I think even though there are pros and cons, I feel like that June 6th, the Marty adoption makes sense and may prevent more burdens than we don't realize.
Yeah.
Kind of avoiding that consideration.
Well, for the simplicity of the motion, that say
2026. So, that's that questions.
Decide on June 6th.
Not. Okay. I don't feel like I have any further discussion.
Is that clear? I don't suffice to know.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Fine.
Thank you
for
very
the
much.
comments.
We appreciate your time. Okay, so next on our list here, give everybody just a couple minutes. We'll have resolution 22-14, resolution to rename Lake County Building and Land Use to Lake County. Anne and Tim, would you like to chat through this with us? Yeah.
I would let him take the lead.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Luke.
James, there's something on it too.
Sure.
Yes. So,
It's not the meeting.
it has
The whole time.
been suggested to rename the department, to create, a kind of a new reorganization of the county, and to add the opportunity to look at the department more as a community development. We're going to create that opportunity by starting with the changing the name of the department, and then look to build that through new practices. Doing things for better engagement, about better, more informed decision-making opportunities because of better engagement. All referral agencies and all of our resources. So I think that that's the piece of it. Love to, this idea was definitely born by discussions with Tim. So love for him to add on any topic.
Sure. The county is in a period of transition and expanded growth, so it made sense to put a new focus on community planning and development. There's nobody better to do that than Anne and her team, John and Marla. So we just wanted to make it official that we're taking this new step forward with the name change, but coming with that name change is a different job, roles and titles and all the trappings that go with that, but then also just a new focus for the new department on helping the county plan for development.
Comment I was going to make is just a point of order that factually you're not required to have a resolution to do this job. If you do it internally if you like, but because building and land use administers code, I thought it might be good to do that in this instance, and also you'll notice the resolution has a provision that essentially says that because there are going to be references in existing code to the building and land use department and the building director and that kind of stuff, that it will be interpreted going forward as meaning the community planning and development department instead. So. No, not, and so, but it's something, no, that was precisely why, but it's something to have on the radar. So if you go into amend any of the codes, you want to pick up on that, make those changes at the same time.
Okay, cool. I really love this.
I'm very excited for it. Yeah, it's a great step to the conversations we've had on big picture strategic planning, partnerships, and coordination. And it's going to take time to go into what this will look like, what it would be, and actually, it really should always be kind of evolving to some extent as the yeah, I love the opportunity internally and externally for the public and partners to have kind of a
responsibility or yeah, role for staff in the department to be able to shepherd like that institutional knowledge. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the suggestion. I think it's more encompassing of what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, just to echo that, I think with the growth we're seeing, I think, the way we handle that growth in the next, 5 or so years is on like a generation of what this community looks like. We have this pre-shared vision of what have that growth in our parts of this community intact. So having that, I think it makes sense to change title and have that flow down to what you see as the mission.
Absolutely. Do you want me to read this resolution for you?
Sure.
So this is resolution 22. County Building and Land Use Department to the Community Planning and Development Department. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Leadville, State of Colorado Board is vested with administering the affairs of Colorado pursuant to state statutes. And whereas a proposal has been made to change the name of the Building and Land Use Department to the Community Planning and Development Department, herein referred to together as the department. And whereas the remaining of the department addresses actions being undertaken toward the reorganization of certain Lake County operations, whereby the department will continue to administer building permits, land use applications, zoning and related compliance, while also creating the capacity and opportunity for the department to oversee other county operations as deemed appropriate by the Board of County Commissioners, as such is related to long range of strategic planning. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners finds that the foregoing proposed name change goals, objectives, policies, and other provisions of the Lake County Comprehensive Plan, as well as desirous due to changing social values, new planning concepts, or other social or economic conditions. Now therefore be it resolved that Section 1, the name of the Building and Land Use Department shall hereafter be the Community Planning and Development Department. Section 2, under such time as existing code provisions are formally changed, reference to the Building and Land Use Department or Building and Land Use Director shall mean the Community Planning and Development Department and Community Planning and Development Director. And Section 3, this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its adoption. Moved, read, and adopted by the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Lakes, Colorado, session May 24th, 2022.
Okay. Any further questions or concerns or comments? Motion has read into the record. Okay. I'll accept the motion.
I move to approve resolution number 22-14.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Yeah, we have it. Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Can you just stay here? Can we just take a 2-minute break to grab some water and stretch real quick, and then we'll jump into agenda item number 5. So be right back. How long it takes us to work.
I'm fine.
All
I know,
right.
but you got this.
Okay, so we're back from our 5-minute break. Thank you all very much for being patient on the line. Now we're on to number 5. We have a slew of special event permits today to review. So I will let the building department walk us through the permits. I'm sorry. The community planning and development department, the new department, walk us through this permits. That's a mouthful.
So, I have, been able to turn over special event permits to Marla Bond in our office. She has done an amazing job of, processing these. And so today she is going to bring these to you instead of me.
All
I'm gonna
right.
turn it over to Marla.
Thanks, Marla.
Come on up. Show me.
So I think the best way to do this is we'll just go through these one by one. And we'll just start with boom days and just go on through, and then you can, we'll just vet the application and then go to approve it, if that's okay. Just take a separate vote on each application.
Your preference. Apologize for bringing them all to you, but I thought maybe this would be a way to get them done timely
Sure.
and get everyone on board for their summer. So Boom Days is first. They have complied with all of the agencies. We've received positive feedback from everyone. And we do not have any concerns from the agencies at this time.
Okay. From the referral agencies.
Correct.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions regarding the boom days application or their special event? I don't know. All right, so I will accept a motion for the approval of the boom days application, special event application.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Marla, next.
And you will give it one to Julie.
On that one. Sure.
Or all. So next I have the Colorado Bowhunter Jamboree. This is the same situation. We received positive response. There were a couple of exceptions, and I believe that is Sheriff's Department, and part of that is due to the changeover. So I'm sure once that they are aware, if there are any concerns, we'll make sure that they have an opportunity to bring them forward. This is all held on private land, so that does help us also.
Do you have any specifics around the sheriff's office department or the sheriff's department concerns?
I do not. They just didn't
Oh, they didn't
respond.
respond.
They just
Okay,
didn't respond.
okay. That's, thank you, sorry. Okay, I don't have any questions. I can participate in this event. No questions. I think we're good about what the environment and making sure it's advertised too. Just throwing it out there that I participated.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I moved to approve the special event permit. Colorado Government Jamboree.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Waiting for my question here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good.
Next on the list, we have Ride the Rockies. Ride the Rockies came to us initially with 2 requests. They have narrowed it down. They would like to now only affect the 2 days they will be in Lake County. So that would be June 12th and June 14th. One is Highway 82, Independence Pass. The other will be Fremont Pass and Frontier. They have, as of yesterday, provided all COIs, payments, and assurances that they have taken everyone as far as aid stations, other interested agencies into consideration.
They come up and over from Big Track.
They come over, they're gonna come through the canyon if they can,
Oh, okay, so that's an alternative route. Right,
just in the event we couldn't get through.
yeah. All right, and then traffic control.
They have Colorado State Patrol
Yeah.
on board for everything, and they have a separate entity that manages all their medical and emergency. We can do that.
I don't have any questions on this.
No questions for me.
I will accept a motion for the approval of red properties.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
No.
All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The Lego Marathon in Heavy Path. This is one of the events of the Lifetime Series, but it is the one that is happening very, very recent, very, very soon. June 18th. So at this time, brought forward only this specific application, so we could make sure and get this managed timely for them. They have been in discussions with all of the approving agencies, and we have approval specifically for this one.
I don't think that
We have made a request, well, multiple requests between the community director and myself to Lifetime that they need to be more timely and a more collaborative partner on this application process. Just because it happens every year doesn't mean that we can postpone these applications for the work that the county needs to do. So that's been made clear, and we're hoping that next year we can get back into a regular cadence of having January submissions. So Marla, it's time.
That will be
Thank you.
wonderful
Yes.
for all.
we appreciate that. I don't have any questions, but for transparency's sake, I have signed up for the half. If that matters to anybody. You're given. Yeah, I don't have anything to gain from this except climbing to the top of mosquito pass. And then having cake for my daughter's birthday right after, so.
So you'd like us to deny, so you don't have to do it.
Yeah, I just want cake.
I'll move to approve the Leadville Marathon and Heavy Path.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
No.
All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Next, Marla.
Next is the Courage Classic. This is a children's hospital foundation event. It's held every year, so this is nothing new to us. They do a very nice job of putting everything together. They have their own medical response plan, and they have submitted everything timely. They are asking for minimal considerations because most of it is without injury or injury.
You just come up on anyone and loop on the 24, right?
I was just curious, this seems like a lot of riders. Is that how many it's always been in the past?
I think it does. They're calling for 1,800 riders and
Oh.
300 volunteers.
Okay, I don't know somebody's complicated. Very good.
That's typical.
Yeah, okay.
I think a lot of the events are getting back to quite volume.
Special event.
I'll second.
Any?
Aye.
Next up is.
What was the 3,200? Yeah, that you were
Oh,
referencing. And the only major concern with this one is that it coincides with the rules. Does not seem to pose any problems. It's happened before with no issue, and they do support. We have support from everyone on this as well. The only thing that we would not be able to do is provide any type of since they have such a good plan, Jeremiah said that he will.
Do they have aid stations in the county?
They have. This one is. Apologies. Ask for a temporary lane close on Fremont Pass. I think it's pretty quick. Right. They indicate Climax and Steve Cooper for aid stations, and they have the permitting.
One day rides, they're not.
Yeah.
Dock visits.
Okay. I don't have any concerns. The lane closure with 91 would come from CDOT permit.
Right.
Okay, and they would control all the traffic.
And they have that all arranged at the time. And I can reach out just to make sure prior to this that you can have a copy of that permission if you want.
Yeah, I think it would be really good to get that to Public Works, maybe to put on our message board. I don't know, just with that many writers, that's wow.
And a busy weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, with boom days and everything, just to maybe advertise that lane closure and everyone.
Yeah. We're talking about a special event.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Public Works.
Thank you all very much.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you so much, Marla. We appreciate it.
Thank you all for your time and your consideration.
Thanks. Number 6, discussion on the U.S. Geologic Scientific Research Access Collaboration on county-owned land. So our committee development director is with us now. To give us a little bit of a lowdown on this.
All right. So the first things that I looked at was just to make sure that this wasn't an inoperable unit.
You want to map you on your share?
Yeah, do you want me to, or just actually, do you actually just mind putting the parcel on the planning one? Nope. I don't, I'm not on. I can give you the account number, so you can look at the parcel that we're talking about.
You can do it, so. That one too.
So the account number is
Sure.
R004546. Worries. Parcel number is R004546. Oh, you're right.
You can put it in the address. You can put it in the address. and then- Is it?
4546.
I think it's this one.
I just don't want to go back over there.
I think it's this one right here, this one, right next to it. There you go. There it is.
Okay.
All right. So it is outside the operable units. That was the first, just since we were gonna have a little bit of a site disturbance there, looking at that. I had forwarded everyone did you get the packet? So you kind of see, although, albeit it's a pretty large area, total surface area that they'll be looking at is, do the math, that's 220 feet. So 30 is 170,504 square feet. So, large surface area, but minimal, disturbance using hand tools, put these electronic monitoring devices in there. The goal is purchase basically as they stated. First aims to refine space weather geoelectric hazard maps across Colorado, and then the goal of using the geophysical images of environmental guides and exploring metals. So there are no permits or anything like this. So I would propose that all it needs is a letter from the Board of County Commissioners allowing them access to the parcel to be collaborative partners. The only other thing that did you click on? I was just wondering about advising them, and maybe they're ahead of the game on potentially needing access from privately owned parcels to get access to that parcel. That's the only other thing that I see that might, be a little bit.
But I think that this is the,
Yep, that's
the
something that
pass.
No,
No,
this
this is through.
there's just like that little 2-track. Yeah. So they may have already looked, it seems like they're pretty darn thorough. I hadn't looked at all the ownership on their access to see if it was all, it looks like there's actually 2. So I'm just going to advise him to just double check ownership in case he needed to be granting permission, but it looks like it's for all the way around.
It's the board closed except for
That.
up there, but I don't.
To access that.
Right.
Okay.
So that's like one thing that I would advise him is that if you need additional permission, just be cognizant crossing privately owned land. Would be the only thing that I could see. We have no permitting, we have no, anything else. So I think it would just be a letter, and probably including in that language. Just to be cognizant of that.
Okay.
And I think that's, he was gonna try to come today, but I didn't know if there was something else, so you just kind of work directly. At the end, he included references of other communities in the collaboration on, that of course we will propose that they will return all of the sites to free states. So.
Election period.
Yep.
Right.
Well, people on site too, like we have like 1 vehicle and 3 people staff.
If they're on site for like 24 hours, if they're at camp there together or?
Said just installation and recovery. It doesn't say that.
Oh, okay.
His equipment will be left in place for approximately 3 days a month. I think that they're saying I'm saying that they'll just.
And then collect their stuff.
Okay. It might be nice to. Letting people know what that.
Okay.
So that's not.
Right, so that you don't get.
It's
calls
undisturbed and also people don't think that's trash or like reporting.
Right.
Yeah, if they
can just something just next to the site as well as just some situational awareness.
Yeah.
Or up there, but,
You never know.
you know.
And yeah, something that also would deter people from just. Okay, and maybe they do choose to do that, but not going that we spoke about, but I will have this ready for your, I asked him my timing, if it would work for them, if I had a letter to bring to the board on June 6th. That would work perfect. So today was just discussion to see if there were any additional concerns that you'd like me to speak a bit about, or go ahead. And put
Suggestion on the signage.
all right.
And then just a.
I know.
How it might, you know, what kind
I
of
know,
data
I
they're
think it's
collecting
really-
with all the substations in Lake County.
Yeah, I think, you know, like,
Yeah.
I would like to come and share out.
Yeah.
That'd be cool if you could do that.
Absolutely, I would encourage you to have studies about that, you know.
Okay.
As being collaborative partners, so I can invite that. up.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. If there isn't any other further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I think we're.
Oh,
But
sorry.
This was just discussion.
Dan's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
do-
Yeah,
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that development.
Do that, okay. And then we'll just have to make any formal.
We'll approve on June 6th.
Okay. Perfect. That's great. Thank you very much, Anne.
Thank you.
All right, anything further today before we, sorry, do you have something else?
No, I don't.
Okay. Anything further today before we, at the end of our agenda?
No, I'm nothing.
Okay, yeah. All right, so we will adjourn today at 2:53.